Okay, let's get started, guys. I want to chat today about wellness consults and have a little bit of conversation on how you guys are doing it and how you're feeling about them, because they really, really are such a staple in what we do, right? And even with this challenge that we're doing right now, I'm even encouraging you guys, as you are reaching out to people that are already enrolled, and maybe you already did a wellness consult with them, to do it. If you feel like they could use another one, do another one, right? It's the personal side of this business. It's the you might do a class with 10 people, but that wellness consult that you give them once they get their wholesale account, and I mean, this is whether they just start with just a wholesale account and a lavender, or they start with a home essentials kit. Regardless of what they start with, we give them a wellness consult or a overview. What you'll hear it call a few different things. I like to call it a wellness lifestyle or wellness consult or a lifestyle overview, either one, whichever feels good for you. But I really encourage you because to really nail them down, because it is not, it's great when you enroll somebody, but if that person is then not using their oils because they're not sure how, maybe they are too scared to ask, or they never order again, then it was just a one-time sale, right? And we're not in the business of one-time sales. We're in the business of helping people change their health and their lifestyle, right? So, hey, Susie Q. So I miss your face. Oh, I haven't seen you forever. So we want to make sure that we're getting in the habit of doing wellness consults every single time. And I know, Susie, you've been doing this for a while now too, and you have some different things that happen with wellness consults too. So feel free to jump in and share your goodness there. Personally, what I do is just like LRP. It's kind of a non-negotiable for me. And I would say 99% of the people that I enroll do a wellness consult. Every once in a while, they'll cancel for whatever reason, which is fine. And then, I keep trying to reschedule. And then eventually I stop, and then I'll touch base with them again at like the 90-day mark. And they've kind of like snuck through at that point. So I think there's still that small percentage in there. But ultimately what I do is, again, whether it's a class or a one-on-one or they've contacted me through Instagram or Facebook, I enroll them. After I enroll them, and I talk to them about the LRP program and explain the benefits of joining Right Here, Right Now, which is another class for another time. Then once all of that is finished, I congratulate them. And I genuinely, for whatever the reason was for getting started, I congratulate them on taking the step towards their health and towards their wellness, because for some people it's a big purchase, right? Like, I even know when I bought my home essentials kit, I say this all the time, I was on maternity leave. I had no right to buy a home essentials kit. And I know that there's a lot of people that enroll that are doing the exact same thing, right? So I congratulate them and I celebrate with them. And then I say to them, okay, we're going to stop talking right now because we've either had a one-on-one or a class, and I say, we've got you set up. You're going to get your oils in the mail within the next 5 days. And I want you to crack into them. So and I say to them, in the next 24 hours, I'm going to send you a welcome email, and it's going to have some links in there. And ultimately, and I can post the welcome email that I send to people. It's really refined now, and it's super short. I think it was the Kirschbaums did a class a few years ago, a couple years ago, maybe a year ago. I don't know what it was. And it talked about what should be in your welcome email. So I've refined mine based on their teachings. And it just has some there's like a YouTube video in there on how to use a Home Essentials kit, and like a doTERRA video on LRP, those sorts of things. And it's very short. It's very, cut down, and I tell them that they're going to get that. And then I say, so within the next few days after that, so say today is Monday, you should have your oils by Friday. When next week, when on next Monday, Tuesday, are you free for a wellness consult? And what this is going to be is a 30-minute phone conversation where you and I are going to dive into your oils. We're going to talk about the specific ways that you can use them, because we just did a class or a one-on-one. That was a lot of information. Your brain needs a little bit of a break right now. So now when your oils are right in front of you, we're going to dive into how to actually use them. I also want to teach you how to use your wholesale account. So you now get wholesale prices. I want you to feel really, really comfortable on how to use them and how to use that LRP program. And then I say over the next, and I try to book it between the 7 to 10 day mark, right? So we have 14 days to move them in our organization. So I try to book the wellness consult. If they enroll on a Monday, the next Monday to Wednesday is when I want to book my wellness consult, because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room if they need to reschedule, right? Because I don't want to be moving them in my organization until I've had that conversation with them, right? And we'll go through tonight and talk about why you don't want to move them. I mean, there's those circumstances where, if you were needing that volume for rank and they enrolled on the 28th of the month, then you have an idea of where you're going to place them. And then, if they decide, the business is for them, they're going to be doing it on day one anyways, right? So you can always do the 90-day upgrade and move them. But you want to have that conversation with them beforehand. So that's when I book it for the 7 to 10 day mark, and I make sure it's in their calendar. I'm in my welcome email. I mark what their day and time was. I put my phone number in there and I say, call me at this time. But I have their phone number as well. So if for some reason, for the most part, I would say I only have to call people because they haven't called me maybe 10% of the time, but I really make it sound like this is part of your membership. This is part of what we offer. This isn't something willy-nilly, and there's no point in you just spending, $300 on a kit and then not taking me up on an opportunity to show you how to use them, right? And I just say it like that, right? Like, you just made this investment, let me walk you through it. And between that 7 to 10 day mark, I say questions are going to pop in your head. You're going to be dreaming about oils for the next 10 nights. When you have a question, don't hesitate to shoot me a message, but I really encourage you to write those questions down, and you have my undivided attention for that 30-ish minutes. Sometimes they go 40 minutes depending on our conversation. I personally do them over the phone. I would say maybe once or twice a year I do them in person. And that's typically with people that don't feel comfortable using a computer, right? So I physically need to be there to show them how to use it. But that's, for the most part, I mean, it's really rare this day and age that someone doesn't know how to use a computer. So I typically do them over the phone. And sometimes, even I just did a wellness consult with someone last night that was from Indiana, and she had some questions about it. So I just got her on Zoom here, and I did a screen share so that we could communicate that way. So sometimes we'll do it. And it's on my list of things to do, to pre-record a wellness consult as well for the 1% of people that try to get away from me, you cannot escape me. My wellness consults, I can actually just send it to them and say, you know what, sorry we couldn't touch base. Here's how you do, here's let me tell you about the top 10 oils, and here's how you, and then do a screen share of, you know, introducing them to LRP, and just a quick 30-minute video. So then at least in my heart, because I'm here to provide a service, I can then go, it's done. You know what? I'm done stalking you. Schedules aren't lining up. Here's my video, sister, right? So that's kind of, that's my game plan, is to create one of those. But I mean, you can do it in whatever way feels good for you, right? But especially if you're really trying to tap into not necessarily a local market, like if you have people, like if you're building online in any way, shape, or form, you have the ability to enroll somebody across the world, right? So this is where you want to do it in a way that feels good for you. And this is where I like Zoom, because we can interact, right? And again, feel free to turn your mics on at any point and start piping in, right? Like we can, versus a Facebook Live where it's just one-way communication. So just a different way to think about it there, but really making it non-negotiable. And just encouraging that this is the times, making sure it's in your welcome email to say this is the date and time. And then, I mean, you could even take it the extra mile if you're finding that people aren't showing up. Sending, just like you would for a class, right? Sending that reminder, or even setting up an event in Facebook or Instagram, or however you've been communicating with them. If you set up an event, like a calendar reminder, then it'll pop up in their Facebook, and then you could send them a text, you know, the morning of, looking forward to chatting with you tonight at 8:00, and whatever works for you, right? Whatever you feel comfortable with. But getting those little reminders in there, right? Like we're not doing, unless you're enrolling a person a day and doing crazy amounts of wellness consults, there's no reason that you can't provide that level of service, right? So that's kind of how I get into it. And then I'm going to see if I can screen share here, because I want to show how I go through. And again, feel free to take your mic off if you have any Okay, so this is the Live Guide. Okay, so doTERRA, when you first enrolled, you used to get one of these. You don't anymore. You get the new booklet, which I love, and it has every oil in it and what they're good for, and that's what you get with a kit now. If someone comes to a class, I physically hand them one of these when they enroll. And this PDF here is in my welcome email. So I encourage people, can you guys see the Live Guide? Or is it just me? Okay, good. So this is the PDF that I send people, and they can have a look through it. And what I really love, and what I really encourage all of us to use is, I mean, we've had the Live Guide since I started doTERRA, but the Live, Share, Build, and Launch guides have gotten so good over the years. They're like incredible tools now, and it's for us as people trying to, you know, we sign up to share oils. We're not necessarily business people, right? But how do we, you know, look professional, and also really keep it down to a 30-ish minute conversation. And if you're a rambler like me, it's not an easy feat. So I really love this one. It congratulates them on really paying attention to what their healthcare looks like, right? And it says, you know, doTERRA's essential oils at your fingertips are prepared to address 80% of your health priorities. So I don't read it to them. They can read, but I emphasize what they've made an investment in. I mean, for the most part, for me, I would, about 75% of the people I enroll with a home essentials kit. If not that, the family essentials kit. So it's the top 10 oils, right? Every once in a while, someone will do the $42 kit with some random with some random oils or natural solutions. Every once in a while, I'll go to the other, but for the most part, it's the top 10, because I talk up frankincense so much in my classes that, like, even Aroma Touch Diffused, again, rarely I'll hook people up with one because it doesn't come with frankincense. Like, people want frankincense by the time I'm finished with a class, right? So because I'm always talking about the top 10, it's easy for me to say, okay, you now have the tools to make over your medicine cabinet to do everything, right? So I go through this, and I would say I'm going through the wellness lifestyle. I spend about, I don't know, I would say like 5 minutes per page-ish until I get to the very end. And that's where I spend, I wouldn't even say 5 minutes. I spend a few minutes each page. And then we dive into the very last page, which we'll get to, obviously. And then at the very end, I teach them how to use, I would spend about 5 to 7 minutes teaching them how to use their wholesale account. So that's how I chunk out my 30 minutes. So I spend quite a bit of time. I would say maybe I spend 5 minutes on this page here, where I talk to them about, how they've made this investment in the oils, but it's not just about the oils, right? And how they can, how they can hire the oils to go to work for them, right? So this is where, we talk about, I start at the top with proactive medical care. You can start at any end that you choose to. I like to end with lifelong vitality. But I talk about, they have the top 10 oils now. This is where proactive medical care, you have absolute control. You have everything you need to make over that medicine cabinet for you, and really think proactively about how your emotions and how your everyday habits are forming your overall health. And encouraging them, again, this is all based on what we've talked about in class as well, right? So when I enrolled them, I helped them choose a kit based on what their health issues were. So I've already had the conversation with them. I know that they can't sleep, they can't poop, and they have headaches, say, right? So I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into that, and talking about other things that they can do within for medical care. And then I go into informed self-care, and talking about, again, how the top 10 oils that they have are going to help them think proactively about how they take care of themselves. And when you say self-care to people, this is where they can have, depending on how they're doing in this area, it can be really emotional for people. And this also helps me help them dive into some of the emotional line too, which is also in this booklet. And then some people are getting into it strictly because they want to reduce their toxic load, right? I literally had someone last month enroll with a home essentials kit because she wanted to make cleaning products. Really, she needed lemon and curd, but I'm like, okay, well, whatever. She knew on one level and she wanted to dive a little bit deeper, right? But when you talk, some people just want to get started to make their own deodorant or whatever, right? So talking it out with them, and as much as I'm talking right now, the wellness consult, this is where, like I would say to my kids, you got to put on your listening ears, right? And I really love to do more listening, right? Because whether I was doing a class with them or a one-on-one, I already talk and shared. I already did all of that, right? Then they told me what they needed and I helped them get a kit. Now it's my chance they already know the information, and it's right here in black and white and color in front of them, right? So this is where I can actually listen and say, let's talk about toxic load. Where are you at with that? And then they can kind of, tell me about that. Tell me about how is your rest and stress management? What does movement look like? And what does food and nutrition and fueling your body look like? And I spend the most time actually on that piece right there. And it's nothing that people don't know. They know, if they've already got to the point where they're getting a kit, they're tapping into, I guess, the common sense part a little bit, where they're like, I know I'm supposed to be eating the rainbow. I know I'm supposed to be eating whole foods, and you don't need to tell them, but what you can express to them and educating them on is supplementing, right? And explaining what each part of the Lifelong Vitality is for, explaining what Terrazyme does, explaining what taking good quality probiotics will do for their gut health, right? And so many people, right now, you're going to get people getting started because it's allergies. If it's not allergies, it's cold and flu season, right? When you remind someone that 80% of their immune system is located in their gut, it's your second brain for a reason. How do you support that? How do you take care of it? You can spend, quite a bit of time on this, but practice it in a way that it feels good for you, and so that you can keep this page because you got to keep them on track too. Because if you're letting them talk, you got to kind of keep them on track too. But I spend probably about 5 minutes on that page, and then we dive deeper into it, right? So I just ended with eating right, and then you go through each one. But by that point, I've already talked about the Lifelong Vitality Pack. I've talked about Terrazyme. So many people are getting into this, not for themselves, but for their kids or for their fur babies, right? So, I talk about how my dog has IQ Omega, or IQ Mega, like the kids version on his food every day, and the probiotics as well. So talking to them about that, and then I'm just, as they're talking to me, I'm making notes. Okay, I'm just listening and making notes on things that they need, because in my head I'm helping them build, and we'll get to this at the very end of this manual. I'm helping them create the next 3 months of LRP, right? So, and then the research is showing with doTERRA that if you can help someone get on 3 months of LRP, then you've created a habit, right? And if you've created a habit, I call them lifers, like me, like you, right? I will never, even if I wasn't doing this as a business, I will never go without doTERRA in my life, right? And I'm a really great customer, okay? And you're trying to create really great customers, but you're trying to help people change their health, right? And getting them set up with one kid is not going to do that, right? Getting them set up with a habit of even just ordering one thing a month, right? And even I've noticed that if I can get them, one thing a month for 3 months, that eventually, because I've taught them how to use their kit, eventually it goes to 2 things a month. And then it goes to 3 things a month. And then they're just like, oh, free Deep Blue, I need 200 points, or free whatever, I need 125 points, right? And they get that concept, right? But you got to get them on that first 3. So as they're talking to you, take notes. Is that where do you notice that, you guys, when you're Susie Q? Yeah. And then helping them, the whole next part is like creating habits. So, and this is where educating them on, it's not anything that they don't know, but I love how they give different recipes in here for smoothies. And it's a great opportunity to teach them how some of the oils that came in their kit, they can throw into a smoothie. And let me tell you about the shakes and Terra Greens, and that's typically when I'll educate them too on how there's two warehouses, and how, you know, all the essential oils are in the Canadian warehouse, but some of the supplements and things like Terra Greens and the shakes are in the US warehouse. But then I let them know I will educate you on how to do that after we go through this. And then we talk about movement. What kind of, we've already talked about in that summary page what they like for movement. So then I'm just reiterating back to them what they've told me. So say they told me that they love yoga. We talk about the power of, and come up with a plan of how are you going to work that into your, you know, week. How many times are you committing to doing that in a week? And again, I'm just taking notes. And some people join because they are wanting to lose weight, right? So I again, this one has now an entire plan on how they can take the metabolic blend and work it into their day to help support weight loss. And again, creating more habits. This is when I can educate them on the Deep Blue that came in their kit, but then some of the other supplements that will help encourage them to work out during the day. And things that they probably didn't even know that we had, right? And I think as educators, we're always talking about the top 10. And I know for myself, I need to do more talking up Mito 2 Max and the Deep Blue polyphenol, right? Like there's such game changers. I think I'm getting pretty consistent with, you know, probiotics and Terrazyme and LLV. But there's some things that are such game changers in people's lives that we don't talk about enough, right? And there's certain of the new oils that aren't in here, like Copaiba. Copaiba's not in here, I don't think. In this version? No, they have to redo the version. But I always make sure that I talk about Copaiba when I'm talking about this page right here, when I'm going over, you know, pain management and that sort of thing. And then again, they've already told you about what their sleep habits are like. And this is where I know for me, like I've done entire classes on, like online classes on essential oils and sleep, right? And this is where I'll say to them, I did a class on this a year ago. I'm going to tag you in it, and it's really going to support what we talked about here. And as you guys, I mean, I know Susie, you have like a slew of stuff, like classes that you've done online over the years. And I mean, whether you're just getting started, these are the things that you'll start to build up over the years, right? You'll have these different classes, and every single time that you tag somebody in it, it moves it to the top of your feed, right? So you're not, and then what I notice is that people start commenting on it that watched it for the first time when I tagged somebody in it, when really it was like a year and a half old, right? So you can really start repurposing some of the things that you do over the years. So know in your heart, if you're trying to, Amy and I were talking about before everyone hopped on, how she's trying to develop a schedule, right? For showing up on Facebook Lives. If you can get videos done on this wellness pyramid, right? Doing an essential oils and sleep, stress management, emotional health, the top 10, like an essential 101 class, nutrition, gut health, those headaches, those common things that people are suffering with, that you can then go, I did a class on that. Let me tag you in it. Let me tag you in it. Let me tag you in it. And again, I'm just making notes on things that I need to do after I'm finished, to get them involved, right? Because then I'm giving them all the information while I'm also telling them about things like the Serenity soft gels and the power of the, you know, the tree oils that are, you know, going to help ground you. And then letting them in on some of the things that I do, like taking baths and, but finding things that work for them and making sure that they even have like enough diffusers in their home, right? Because if energy and sleep are an issue, they can either have a diffuser in their bedroom and in the main area, or they're going to be moving it around, right? So that would then prompt me to write down diffuser. Like if someone has sleep issues, they need a diffuser in their bedroom, but they also need one out in the main area where they spend, the other 20 hours a day. No, you would get more than 4 hours of sleep. You get what I'm saying? 17 hours a day. They need a diffuser out there as well. So I'm adding that to my list and I'm just creating it. And then again, talking to them about the emotional oils. And I tell them to kind of, and if this is something that comes up for them, and sometimes people want to start here and sometimes people don't. But again, there's a class on this. So if it's something that when they see this visual, it really speaks to them, then I'll note to tag them in that class as well. And really you're just planting seeds to let them know that these oils exist too. So they might say, this has happened in my life and this is why I'm not sleeping. Then you might be able to say to them, I would really recommend, peace or console or forgive, whatever, or you need some energy or you need some, happiness in your life, then let's talk about cheer, right? Every once in a while they get to talking to you about their libido. It's talking to them about passion, right? So it's, but they just even exposing them to this gets their wheels turning, that they start thinking what else is possible, right? And then toxic load. I love how this visual goes through the 30-day cleanse. So I let them know about the Whole Fit 30 cleanse that happens twice a year. And I let them know that they can take part in it anytime that they want. So, and that there's a cleanse and restore kit that they can get. And sometimes I would say, I don't know, I would say 3 or 4 times a year, this kit ends up being somebody's whole LRP 1 month, right? Because this is something that is really speaking to them. But again, they don't know about it until you expose them to it. And then I love this page too, how it just exposes them to everything. And again, you can do this or not do this. I love to say to people and remind them that they only need to put through a 1-point LRP in a month. Because I think some people get caught up in I need to spend so much money, and no, you don't. You actually only need to spend 1 point in a month in order to stay in the program. So even if that's a toothpaste or a pack of gum or a bar of soap, something you're going to buy in the store anyways that's chemical filled, if you can buy a clean version of it, you're better off and you're staying in the LRP program. And some months you do get people that are you can tell that they have a chapstick in their cart. But the fact of the matter is that those people are still, that might happen twice a year. But for the rest of the months, they are ordering as they run out, right? And for me, they're still on LRP, which is my goal, right? Even if I've created a habit of ordering a lemon or a grapefruit or a whatever, right? That means every single month you're still ordering, and you're ordering things that are reducing your toxic load, which was your goal, right? And of course, if people drop off LRP, then I follow up with them when I see them pop up on a list, and we can go back to this, right? But I keep notes, and I used to, when I first started, I used to have printed versions of this, and I would have a friggin' package for every single person, and I kept them all. And now I've learned that I don't have enough storage space for that. So I make a notes. I have a notes section on my laptop, like in a Google Doc, that's all wellness consults. So that if for some reason I notice somebody consistently has a low LRP, or if I see them drop off LRP, I can go back to their wellness consult and be like, Susie, you were trying to reduce your toxic load. What happened? Or what's going on? Or are you not liking the facial line that you tried? Or how was that cleanse? Or and I can go back to my notes, right, on what we actually talked about. So as they're talking to me during the wellness consult, I'm taking notes like crazy in my computer. So this is where I love Google Docs, because you can just save it up in La La Land forever. And then going into informed self-care, talking to them. Maybe they've talked to me about how they love to travel. This is where, you know, making over your first aid kit or things you need to be traveling with is such a, or if they have kids or don't have kids or are getting this for their mom or whatever, you can actually cater it to support them. And again, if they talk, I love this visual too. I feel like this guide just has so many awesome visuals, and some of them you're just going to plow through and not touch on. And then some of them you're going to, you know, spend a little bit more time. But if someone has specifically said to me, I want immune support, or I want respiratory support, this gives them very clear recommendations. And I know, especially when you're first getting started, this will give you a lot of confidence, right? This is a really good visual. I wish they had this visual when I first got started. So that when someone's talking to me, you know, about their digestive system, and I'm just like, I just want to help you poop again, but I don't know every oil right now. I do now, but I didn't then, right? Then this gives you a really good visual. And this visual here is always when I say to them, you know, did you get that app? So I always talk about the app or the Modern Essentials book in class or in one-on-ones. And when they enroll, I talk about it again. And again, I say to them, it's, you know, you've invested $300 in this kit. You may as well spend the extra $8. And I think it's actually $6 now, the new version, the Modern Essentials Plus. You may as well spend the $6 and get the tool to know how to use this when, you know, I'm not around, right? Because I say right to them, I said, we are oil lifers. I am here for you. I will be here to answer any of your questions. But when your kid wakes up at 2 a.m., I am not available to you. So you need a tool to know how to use these. And that app or that book is your tool. And it's a credible research-based tool, and it will beat reading every mom blog out there. So I've already exposed them to it during class or the one-on-one when they enroll, and still probably 50% of the time they're like, oh, I haven't got that yet. I'm like, dude, you need that in your life. And I emphasize it again on this visual right about here. So here's where you can actually start all those notes that you've taken as they've been giving you information the entire wellness consult. This is where you can start customizing it for them. And what I like to do when I first have that first pyramid, I ask them to order them in order of importance of where they want to focus. So, you know, if they say to me, my number one goal is to reduce my toxic load. Okay, so that's number one. Then I want to focus on nutrition, stress management. Then I want to jump up to self-care, then exercise and whatever, right? So they've already prioritized them for me. So I already know their order of importance, right? So if their movement is their last priority, I'm not going to start like saying, you need deep blue, you need deep, you know, their headspace isn't even there yet, right? They'll get there, but it's got to be, you got to meet them where they're at. It's not up to us to dictate where they want to focus, right? So I automatically know that, okay, I'm letting you know that movement is key in this lifestyle, but you're not there yet, but you can start literally having them, you know, check off what they're needing. And then this creates different things. So say reducing their toxic load was number one. If they started with the Home Essentials kit, then they have the lemon. But I would definitely recommend that, you know, during month 2, or month 1, 2, and 3 of their LRP, they're starting to accumulate things like Tangerine, Purify, and then getting into like On Guard Cleaner Concentrate. I don't get a lot of people that buy the laundry detergent, but again, like frankincense, I'm constantly bragging about DIY laundry detergent, right? So I don't have a lot of people buying that one. And same with hand soap. I don't get a lot of people, but that's because I should probably have shares in Castile soap because I push a lot of that. But the On Guard Cleaner Concentrate is definitely going in their LRP over those months, right? But because they've prioritized them, I can take these sections here and really help them customize it. And it's at my fingertips, right? I don't have to think. I don't have to think, guys. Who wants to do that? About what I want to recommend, because it's all right there. And again, it's all depending on what they're looking for. So this last page here is really where I spend. It's kind of like the meat and potatoes, but and this is where I can take everything that they've said and summarize it in a nice little package. So I can say to them, you know, during our time and even during class, you've told me that your top 3 health priorities are sleep, energy, and pooping. So let's set some goals. I love to say pooping all the time. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's set some goals. If at the end of 90 days, so 3 months from now, if you looked back on the last 3 months, and I love to attach this to a feeling, okay? And we talked a lot about being able to attach this whole process to how it's going to make them feel. How will you feel at the end of 90 days if you look back and say, wow, that was success. That was awesome. That was amazing. That's exactly how I want it to feel. What would that feeling be? And they would say, well, I would feel, you know, healthy. I would have clarity. I would have whatever. I would feel joy. Okay, what would have needed to have happened in the last 90 days? Well, I would have, you know, and maybe it was I make over a product a week to reduce my toxic load, if that was their number 1 priority. Okay, so that's your goal, and that's certainly going to help you, you know, it'll give you energy and all those sorts of things. What would your sleep habits look like? And I'll go through each of their top 3 health concerns. So if your number 1 priority is sleep, what would that look like in 90 days? Well, I would go from, you know, waking up 10 times a night to not waking up at all. Perfect. Okay. So we talked about the Serenity soft gels. We've talked about, you know, making sure you have a diffuser in your room. I've tagged you in that post or in that class that talks about sleep habits, things that you should be doing to shut your body down before bed. And we've talked about things you need to be doing during the day so that you are able to shut down at night. And then we go through those top 3 things. The goal is that they are coming out of this conversation going, wow, I just got a ton of stuff that is catered to me specifically. And then you can create their morning, afternoon, and evening plans based, again, I like to focus on those 3 things so that it's not so overwhelming and it's tangible, right? So, and this, again, they give things that they should be doing through, and these are recommendations that everybody should be doing, whether your top 3 priorities are sleep, energy, and digestive, or whether they are emotional, or whether they are whatever they are. Lifelong Vitality Pack, frankincense, Terrazyme, On Guard, and lemon are key things that we all should be doing to help our body thrive. In the afternoon, Terrazyme, balance, and again, LLVs are good for everybody. And then for evening, Terrazyme, PB Assist, and lavender. And if they aren't digging lavender, this is where you can recommend Serenity or Petitgrain, something to help them sleep. But something, regardless of what our health issues are, we all want energy during the day and sleep at night and focus, right? Focus on our tasks. And then I have a lot of the time we've already talked about other things that they need to be doing throughout their day to day, so that they are can reach those goals within 90 days. So, I might touch back on eating or movement or whatever. And again, I try to keep it within those top 3 priorities too. So if they've said to me that movement is their last priority, I'm not going to talk about it really yet. But I do have a process in place to touch back to base with them at that 90-day mark. Okay. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And then the last section is creating their 90-day wellness plan. Okay, so these are your goals. This is what the next 90 days is going to look like, so that you feel like a rock star looking back over the last 90 days. So let's create your next 3 months of LRPs. So, you talked about how your number one thing is you want to reduce your toxic load. So you're definitely going to want, the On Guard Cleaner Concentrate. So maybe you add that in as month 1 with some Purify. And you take that number one thing, and anything they already don't have, add at least 2 of those things to month 1 LRP. And this is where I really talk to them about how, if they, we've already set up their template so that it's before the 15th of the month. And I let them know that, depending on, if you order 125 points worth of something before the 15th, then you'll actually get the free product of the month. So let's make sure we have 125 points worth of stuff in your cart. If for some reason you're like, I don't really want that oil, you can always, drop off some of these things. But based on your goals, this is what I would recommend. And that's when, their top 3 priorities, that's what's driving their 1, 2, and 3. And then I've already taught them how to use the other 10 essential oils that they got in their kit. And by the time that 3 months is up, if they've been using their oils the way I've taught them how to use their oils, and I've added them to my Facebook group, and they're following, and I'm constantly posting, this is how you use On Guard, this is how you use whatever. Hey, Susie.
I have to go. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Bye,
So,
Susie.
are you posting this later or no?
Yeah, I will.
Awesome. Good.
Want to add anything?
Thanks for everything. It was awesome.
Okay. This is where their top 3 priorities, I make sure that they are listed in these 3, and then you can go through and with the single oils and with everything, I've already made notes on what they need, and I'll say, these are your list of oils. This is what I heard from you as you were talking. We've added these into your first 3 months, and a lot of the time I start working on month 4 with them. And then I say to them, if you're really making over your cleaning cupboard, you're going to go through that On Guard within the next 2 months, and you're probably going to need a new one on month 3 or 4. But the oils that I would recommend that aren't on these 3, and then I can have them go through it there. And then again, educating them on, okay, so we've added the Lifelong Vitality Pack in. Did you know that when you order it, you can actually get up to 3 additional supplements at reduced prices when you are ordering them with your Lifelong Vitality? So this is when I have them open up their wholesale account. I say, let's quickly go through, open up your wholesale account. If they're not set up on LRP at this point, this is where I say, over to the right-hand side, you'll see a button that says Start Your LRP Template. Click that button. And then I wait for them to click it, and I say, let me show you how to add stuff into your cart. And then we add in the things that are supposed to be in their month 1, right? And then I say to them, because I don't like when people get surprises, and I know doTERRA is really good now at emailing out, hey, Amy, your LRP is going to process in the next 2 days. But I don't like people to be surprised by it. So I never have people book their LRP to go out on the 1st or 2nd. If they're anything like me, it's like the 1st or 2nd just sneaks up on you, right? So it's always between like the 3rd and the 15th. And then I will have them set a reminder in their phone or however they set reminders for themselves. And then we absolutely add all of these in, and I can educate them again on, okay, to maintain your points, you need a 1-point order. To increase in your percentage, to move from 10 to 15 to 20 to 25 to 30, you have to have a minimum of a 50-point order. To qualify to receive commissions, you have to have a 100-point order, and to receive the product of the month, 125-point order. And just even me saying to qualify to receive commissions, you have to put in a 100-point order. That's where I throw in there that, once you're loving your oils and you find that you're out there talking about them anyways, know that there's this whole other realm where you can actually get paid for sharing them, which seems crazy. And I invite them to start with holding a class. So again, this is another reason why I like to book this a few days after they've already been using their oils, right? So they've already had an experience with them. And some of them have already had a quick win. Like they were like, oh my God, I diffused lavender and I slept amazing, right? So they've probably already told their mom and their sister and their aunt by the time we've already done their wellness consult. So me saying, hey, those people that you're talking to, let's get together and have a class, and you can keep the enrollments. You keep the enrollments, you do everything. I just want to come and educate, right? And for me, that's my way of sampling the business to them as well, right? We've already gone through their, and created that first level of LRP, and say it's sitting at 90 points. I say, let's add in an extra 11. And you're going to earn commissions. Or, I even say to them, if you choose not to have commissions, that's fine. That's completely up to you, but this is just what you need, right? But that's just, I'll put a little plug in there. And I always try to, at a wellness consult, that is when I want to book a class, for them to hold a class. And again, depending on where they're located, it might be an online Facebook class or a Zoom class or whatever. And I let them know that they can keep the enrollments. And then we talk about, I go through all the LRP, and then letting them know that there's tons of education that they are going to get. And I encourage them to join the Daily Drop, the Empowered Life series, and make sure that they're on my Facebook page. And then give them reference to the Share and Build guide as well. And I've had people that are like, no, don't want to have a class. No, not interested. That when I then follow up with them at that 90-day mark. So I just set honestly, me and Suri, I'm just like, hey, Suri, remind me to follow up with Amy. Oops. Suri heard me. She wanted to answer. Oops. I'll say to her, remind me to follow up with Amy in 3 months. Or in 90 days, right? And she chooses 90 days, and she'll tell me to follow up with Amy, right? And then I can go back to my wellness consult notes, message Amy or text her, however I've been communicating with her, see how her plan's going, and then I'll drop in so you ready to have a class yet, or whatever, right? Whatever feels good for you. But you can then I'll actually send out the share guide to them, just so they can see what it's all about. So at this point, I've now gone through every oil. I've helped them set up their LRP. It will help you get so comfortable with exposing people to LRP. And then I've also booked a class with them, and which is referrals, right? Which is the goal. And I've also told them, just even let them know that there's a business opportunity. And there's some people that are all over it. There's some people that aren't all over it initially, and then do. And I know I was that person. I was not interested in the business initially either, right? And then it was, well, you know, I just want to get my oils for free, or I just want to pay for a vacation, or I just want to whatever, right? So they'll join, just like they got their kit when they were ready, they'll join the business when they're ready too, right? You're not here to convince anybody that they have to do stuff. And what I love most about doTERRA is that they are truly, we lead with the products every time. There's so many companies that lead with the business. And as much as this compensation plan is crazy awesome, I love that we are just about helping people change their health first and always, right? But there's tons of, I make sure that they have things like, you know, the doTERRA 1-800 number, because the customer service is amazing, right? Or that when they're logged onto their back office, that they know how to do a live chat, because some people don't want to call, and that's okay. Here's how you do a live chat. Reminding them that they're in mountain time, so that's, you know, they really don't open till 10 a.m. for us, right? And just those little tips and tricks that I've learned along the way, that even if they don't remember in the moment, like it doesn't seem like a big deal, like you're skimming over it. When they need to call customer service, that thing that I mentioned, that, oh yeah, they're in mountain time, you know, that'll clue into them, right? But do you guys have any questions about the Live Guide? No? It is oh, sorry, I'm listening.
All right. Is there a Canadian version and a US version, or just the US version?
Just the one version.
Okay.
Yes. Good question. Good question. Again, I don't think there's a Canadian version. Not of the Live Guide. There's, you know what? Something tells me, I'm going to stop the share. Something tells me actually that they may have come out with Live Guide Canada. Download. I don't know if this is the Canadian one.
It's not a big deal. Just there's that one section with the LLV pack that has the US pricing, so I didn't know.
Right. Yeah, that's what I just Googled it. Yes, there is one. There absolutely is one. And it has all of the Canadian pricing on it. But then it also, okay, so I'm going to share this again. Where's my Zoom call here? Share. So this is it. And on the last page, where it has the, so there's all the Canadian prices. And then instead of, there's the Lifelong Vitality, but because we only have these two in Canada.
We can't see it.
You can't?
It just says Live Guide and download now.
Oh, crying out loud. That's not helpful. Stop share. Don't know why it's, oh, here it is. Here we go. Now, can you see it? So on the very last page, so there's all the Canadian prices. And then because these are the two that we have in Canada, they have those there. Cool. So I can put the link to this when I post this video. Sound good? Good question. The rest of it is the exact same though. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an opportunity, again, to educate them on the two warehouses. And I always tell people that, like, honestly, 95% of the time, I'm ordering from the US warehouse because even after exchange, because of taxes, it's cheaper because their prices are less. And if I'm ordering this much stuff anyways, it's actually cheaper for me to pay the exchange than 13% tax because I'm getting shipping back anyways. So that's what I talk to them about. Good question. Any other questions? Does that seem like something you could work in? And as you're reaching out to people like past customers, this is a great opportunity that if someone's even dropped off LRP, do a wellness consult with them again. You don't have to go through the whole guide, but they've forgotten their why. They've forgotten why they wanted to do this in the beginning, right? They've let the fact that, you know, their husband thinks it's witch medicine and their sister's making fun of them and their kids don't use the rollerball they made and, you know, because their other kids eating like garbage, they're still not pooping, or they let all those stories get in the way of the fact that they had a mission to create better health for themselves, and they've stopped. So it's, you know, you are like morally obligated to make sure that they remember that, right? It has nothing to do with the fact that you want them on LRP for your business. It's the fact that what is your why? And it goes back to your why, right? If your why is to help people get healthier, then even if you have to do a wellness consult with someone again, that's what you're doing, right? You're helping people get healthier. So always just try to keep that in the forefront of what you're doing. But I hope that this was helpful for you. And again, I encourage you, the key takeaways for this: book a wellness consult immediately within the 7 to 10 day mark after they enroll, and get that welcome email out to them with the date and time. Even send them a message that morning of or the night before, depending on when you're doing it, reminding them of their wellness consult, and make sure that they have the Live Guide. They can go through it with you. But really, it's the main thing is that you're taking notes and you're taking it all in during the wellness consult, and then you're helping them make a 90-day plan at the very end, helping them create 3 months of LRP orders, and that's when you're going to book a class, or if you prefer one-on-ones, you're going to ask for one referral, just one person that they know that you can help. One person, that's it. That's all you're asking for. Everybody's got one person, right? And then you can use the scripts, or you can do it in a way that works for you, right? But that is what's going to keep the momentum going, right? When you leave a wellness consult without a referral or a class, that's when, again, it was like it's a one-time thing, right? Whereas the goal is that every single month you're building on what you did last month, right? And the month. So that's your takeaways. Hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions, I will post this, and feel free, you can start a little feedback throughout that as well. Have a good night, guys. See ya.